Earth Force and Urban Waters webinar. This is Donny Roush talking to you from Denver, Colorado, and I am just about ready to share my screen with everyone. We're going to work our way through a short presentation. I'll be speaking for most of it, and Darren Mollendor from Denver Public Works will be joining us as well. This is a webinar about a water education program that we've been developing in Denver and wanted to share with others who are interested in both the urban waters funding possibility from EPA as well as others looking for ways of upping the game when it comes to stormwater education. I'd like to give a tip of the hat out to our sponsors and partners, Denver Public Works, Denver Parks and Recreation, Denver Public Schools, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and Toyota Together Green. So first of all, for those of you that don't happen to be aquatic ecologists by trade, I'd like to answer the question of what is a KIC-NET. The KIC-NET is a low-tech, time-honored tool of sampling for organisms that live in streams, and when you sample those organisms, it's one, a tremendous indicator of the health of the land in the watershed around the stream, as well as, for me as an environmental educator, this is a gateway device for hooking kids into science education. I have yet to work with a young person who has not been turned on by the exercise of taking a KIC-NET into a stream, kicking out a sample, bringing it up to the shore, and seeing the creatures that are living right there in the stream next to where they live that they mostly were not aware of before. It's a really fun exercise to go through. So at Earth Force, in the last year and a half, we've been developing a program that we are calling KIC-NET. It's an acronym. It takes its name from Keep It Clean, Neighborhood Environmental Trios. The Keep It Clean is a pretty common slogan for stormwater education campaigns around the country. The Neighborhood Environmental Trios refers to this arrangement that we have found throughout the city of Denver where you have a school, some form of surface water, be it a stream or a lake or a pond, and a park with a recreation center. The trio that is showing on the screen is our poster child for meeting this definition. This is a school of 1,000 middle schoolers that sits facing Cherry Creek, a tributary of the South Platte River in Denver, and looks across the creek at Cook Park, which has a rec center right across the way, and they are connected by a pedestrian bridge. So we have found 10 of these locations in the city and are creating hyperlocal water education for these sites. You also notice that the triangle sticks through as we look at our conceptual framework. The partners in the work that we're doing in Denver, the agency partners are the Denver Public Schools, Denver Public Works, and Denver Parks and Recreation. And Earth Force is the convener and the facilitator of this process. Earth Force is an organization that I think of working at the overlap of environmental education and service learning, a field that we like to call action civics, using neighborhood issues to engage young people in their communities, solving real problems, all the time meeting academic standards in the schools. So we look for these opportunities to partner, such as what we're doing with KIC-NET. And at the core of Earth Force is an educational process that has 6 steps plus a beginning that we call the launch. So in the center of the launch, this is a way of introducing ways of working together, teamwork to the students, but also getting them to think in terms of the community, how they define it, what their mental map of their neighborhood looks like. We then work through the process that starts with a systematic environmental inventory of looking at conditions in the neighborhood, finding a list of issues and a list of strengths, could be considered an assets and a deficit list as well, and then working through a process that allows them to pull out one of those issues, really discover all that they can about the issue through a research process, Once they get into the research, they start realizing there are strategies that can be used to address the issue that they're becoming experts in. They select one of those strategies and then design an action project that they then put in place in their neighborhood to affect positive change. Throughout the process, there are opportunities for reflection so that any disciplines that need to be hit in the schoolwork, there's opportunities for that. There's plenty of opportunities for math. Science education is always an easy sell with this, but there are opportunities for things like art to be included, social studies, and looking at various jurisdictions, levels of government, the players that are implementing practice and policy in the neighborhood. So there's the opportunity for the students to be reflective, and then we always look for, at the end, a public presentation of the learning that has taken place with the students. The KIC-NET program is being piloted in Denver, as I said. We were a grantee in the first round of EPA's Urban Waters. We are in our 16th month of 24 months of that funding. Those dollars are being matched by Denver Public Works and a fee-for-service contract that we have with Public Works to deliver their education and outreach. The pilot will conclude at the end of this school year. And as I look at the work, it falls into three categories. There's the partnership development, the facilitation of the conversations between civil engineers in a public works department, administrators in a school district, the folks that have community education on their plate at Parks and Recreation. All of that bringing together an uncommon collaborative is the partnership development part. Another part of this is developing the tools for educators. So we have developed a pretty lengthy activity guide. There are 28 activities that we've selected and put into a sequence so that they reflect the earth force process, but also water-focused science content that can be hit as teachers work their way through the activity guides. We're also providing each school a toolkit, that is supplies and equipment for doing stream monitoring. Schools are receiving waders, several KIC-NETs, tools that help them sort when they do macroinvertebrates, as well as a kit that allows them to sample up to about a dozen water quality parameters. Some of those are chemical tests, some of those are physical tests. So we're giving them the tools that they need to really learn about the water that they're studying. Third portion of this, we are doing evaluation. For KIC-NET this year in Denver, we will be using a pre and post test for the students involved. These tests are based on Earth Force's instruments that have been used for 14, almost 15 years now, so that we have some of the questions that are taken directly from the Earth Force instrument that's been used over all of that decade and a half that allows us to do some longitudinal comparison. We also have some content knowledge questions to make sure that we're hitting really important things, such as stormwater is not treated before it works its way through the separate system, goes into the streams. The effect of pH is another one of the content questions. Now I'm going to bring Darren in to talk about Public Works. As we look at bottom lining the work we're doing with Public Works, we really want to see water quality improvements that are part of the stormwater education and outreach that is required under the MS4 permit for the city. And I will bring Darren in as soon as I find the button to click for you, Darren. There you go. Darren. Darren? There you go. Darren,
can you hear me now?
Yes. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. So my name is Darren Mollendor. I'm with the City and County of Denver Department of Public Works. And, you know, when it comes down to identifying public partners and watershed education and environmental education, Public Works is not necessarily in the forefront of doing these activities. However, when we came across the Clean Water Act and the MS4 permits and requirements requiring outreach and education for pollution prevention, we got into the business. And so as engineers, we're not necessarily the best folks, so we went ahead and relied on some community partners with background and experience in dealing with youth and community organizations and doing outreach and education, community service learning projects. So this all occurred about 10 years ago. And as we went through the process, one of the reasons why we kind of got engaged with KIC-NET was for the purpose of making sound science out in the community and to engage our community partners and hopefully protect some assets that we have within our jurisdiction. So we went and really wanted to utilize social marketing, looking at different strategies. It was very clear that brochures and really a good way to change behavior of some of our citizens and future citizens within the city and county of Denver. So we went forward and started strategizing with Earth Force and the Region 8 EPA office and came up with this outdoor kind of classroom concept. The outdoor classroom concept really ties together the youth within a neighborhood, allowing them to take ownership of their waterway in addition to open urban ecosystems at the very local or hyper-local level. And so as part of this, one of the requirements that we wanted to also meet was not only the Clean Water Act, and that's part of the MS4 permit requirements, and I'll have them. And through the MS4, we have specific requirements that we have to meet. And so as a community partner, we're required to do these activities. Excuse me, I'm just coming off a cold. And the activities are need to be measurable in order to determine whether or not we're utilizing our funding adequately, and then also try to tie it back together to improving urban streams within our jurisdiction. And so through the KIC-NET process, we wanted to ensure that we have a curriculum that meets the needs of all three of the partners. One is through the MS4 permit for the City of Denver. The other is learning standards or educational standards within the Denver public school system. And third was our Parks and Rec department. So if we have open spaces, and that's usually what you're going to find in the urban setting, is a park with a stream. And if we can get the local community to take ownership of that park, then maybe we end up with, you know, subsequent reduced asset, I guess, damage and protection of the asset in the park and the waterway, and take local ownership. And so that was kind of the basic premise of incorporating our MS4 permit activities into the KIC-NET program and helping fund and facilitate the activities for the Neighborhood Environmental Trio. So I'll turn it back over to Donny, and if there are any questions, we can answer those at the end.
Great, thanks, Darren. So the pinnacle of the trio in this triangular conceptual framework are the schools. That we take the program into schools and provide those schools with a curriculum that is tailored to their specific location. We have the ability within the activities to insert the name of their local waterway, to calibrate those up and down depending on the age group that we'll be working with. And schools are always looking for academic achievement to improve. A lot of times that means better scores on standardized tests, but there are other ways to go about assessing student work and what students are learning. And I think the biggest opportunity for me as an environmental educator with the KIC-NET concept is embodied in the next generation science standards as well as the Common Core state standards. These new sets of national standards, in the case of the Common Core, they've been adopted by 46 of the 50 states. Next generation science standards were released earlier this year and are being adopted, and it was, last I heard, it just passed a majority of the states that had adopted the next gen science standards to go along with the Common Core. There's a big shift in science education that for the last 15 years, as in science education, we focused on inquiry, students asking really solid research questions and coming up with answers to those questions. If that's all you're doing under the next gen science standards, you're not going far enough. You need to practice apply the answers, so you're taking it clear through to a practice of science. That is, getting the good answers, applying that research in a way that you get real-world experience. Another big thing in the next-gen science standards, it's an opportunity when you're talking about stormwater in municipalities, is that engineering has equal standing with science now. The authentic problem solving ties right back to the practices. Another big shift in the literacy Common Core standards is that informational text, what we usually call nonfiction text, are now meant to be at least 50% of what students are reading, and that's from the get-go. That kicks in at kindergarten, so that what we consider the fiction, the literature, some of the classics that we've all read are actually going to be a little less emphasized in the classroom now, and informational text, especially those that are short and talk about local issues, are going to be used more. Greater depth, so that these project-based studies really are going to be a vehicle for putting the next-gen science standards in the Common Core into practice in the classroom. And a phrase that comes out of the next-gen literature, excuse me, is an integrated instructional sequence, and that's what we feel we've put together with KIC-NET. The final partner here in Denver, Denver Parks and Recreation, their current strategic plan called department work on elevating civic responsibility that leads to better stewardship of the parks. And the baseline that we'll be looking for over time at the parks is a reduction in maintenance costs, so that as students learn ways of caring for the water that's passing through the park, they're caring for the land that is in the park, and we should be able to see a moving of the maintenance costs that will really show that KIC-NET is doing what it needs to be doing for that partner. So the final trio is the way that the instruction fits together. You've got science content one leg, you've got the earthful activity process other leg, and these come together in action project that the students themselves do in their neighborhoods and affect positive change. So with that, I will open up the floor for questions, and Darren and I would be happy to have a conversation and get your reactions, hear your ideas.
So we did that great.
Okay.
There are no questions. That's excellent.
Could either just speak, everybody's unmuted now if you've got a speaker of some sort, or you can type into the chat box and we can talk to you that way. Yes, there are plans for replication. Thanks for that opportunity to talk about this. This is one of the reasons we wanted to have this webinar, is that we are looking to take KIC-NET on the road. One of the tenets of the EPA funding is that we are designing a transferable model, and the Toyota Together Green funds are actually to take this show on the road and share it in other municipalities, looking for places where we can replicate the program. I am furthest along in those discussions with Wilmington, Delaware, and look forward to visiting them in a couple of months and seeing if we can get our way into schools in Wilmington as well as Newcastle, and are looking for other opportunities.
Well, I guess this is Darren Mollendor. I just wanted to also kind of interject here that the city and county of Denver had, I guess, played a conceptual role to help develop the program, and really is looking at expanding our program from originally it was 5 schools to 10 schools, and we're hoping over the next 2 years to double that to roughly 20 different schools within the city and county of Denver. And then also to take that concept, we're very lucky here to have the Continental Divide and some property up in the mountains, and turn that opportunity into watershed, kind of a headwaters classroom also to do, I guess, take kids on remote outings so they can actually learn about where the water starts within the watershed.
if it would be helpful to those of you on the call, in your control panel under materials, there's a PDF copy of this presentation that you can download, take with you, share, use to look over. When Darren talked about the numbers, I should mention that this year the 750 students range from kindergarten through high school, and the evaluation that I mentioned, the pre and post survey, will be administering that to those in 5th grade and above. So at the end of this school year, we'll have those data to share, as well as some qualitative data that we're going to take out of some semi-structured interviews with students and teachers, and that's a protocol called the most significant impact. We'll be drawing out stories about the KIC-NET involvement and action projects using that tool. You know, Anne-Marie, that's a great question. Anne-Marie is asking if this is proprietary to just Earth Force or if others will be able to use it. We are thinking in terms of a 2-year technical assistance professional development that we would look for in communities that we go into, that would bring in the activity guide, Earth Force process training, and the building of the relationships. And over a 2 years' time, we would set up that municipality to operate its own KIC-NET and be in charge of its own sustainability. So, you know, we're looking to come in, help cities get started, and really make sure that they have the tools and skills that they need to keep things going. You know, Anne-Marie's asking about the funding. It has been 50% funded by Urban Waters here in Denver, and just so that you have an idea of the scale of the work that we've done, it's over the 2 years, it's been a $120,000 budget to create this program. It certainly won't cost that much to replicate it. That first proposal that we put in for the work in Delaware is just a smidge over $25,000, and that will go up and down depending on number of schools that we're looking to reach, number of students that we're looking to reach, the partnerships that we're looking to bring together, as well as the evaluation that we'll want to do. But I think that puts it in the correct ballpark. On the screen, both the contact information for Darren and I, you can pull that out. We invite you to keep in touch. Let us know your questions, thoughts, reactions to this. I will stay on for a few more minutes if anybody wants to have a conversation. But that's the short webinar that we shared, and I really appreciate you joining us today and hearing about KIC-NET, and I hope you see some connection in your work.